Good morning, welcome to Planet Mojo. Today's the day that we're going to test the water and propane lines. The propane line was already tested to the end of the iron pipe, but I got to test all of that ProFlex stuff and iron pipe at the far end. Oh, it's over there. And the water line, I'm going to have to rig up something to put water in here and cap both of those ends. The water line is incredibly important. I don't want any leaks up in the attic up there. Well, the propane line's pretty darn important too. With the propane line, where is my test jig? I have my tester fluid and my test rig right here. What I'm going to do is attach this to the pipe up there, put 6 pounds of pressure in it, and then take the temperature of the pipe there. You want the pipe to be about the same temperature when you take the reading the next day, because the temperature fluctuation is so great in here that it'll change the pressure. So if the pipe is, say, 70 degrees, we want it to be 70 degrees tomorrow when we check the results. So I'm going to put that on. Once I put the pressure in the system, I'm going to go over all of the joints with this leak detector and do a manual check. And on top of that, the propane company, when they hook up the regulator out there, they're going to run a test as well. So even if there is a leak in the propane, which I doubt, we'll get that fixed before we put the ceiling on here. That's this leaking. All right, I'm going to take a picture with the phone. If I can get it to focus, because the GoPro does not do photographs that well. All right, now I'm going to go test all the individual joints. We have a little leak right there. Damn. Well, that sucks. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this any tighter. That really sucks, but that joint really doesn't matter. Don't see anything here. Check the other side. Nope, no leaks. So far, it's just right at the fitting here. Still at 6 pounds though. All right, let's go check the other joints. Looks good. Now for the T-joint. All right, no leaks. Last joint right there. Nope. All right, let's go tighten up that gauge and get rid of that leak. Okay, so I tested every joint in the system and we have one leak, and that's right at the test gauge. It's actually after this adapter right here. It's right in here. And I tightened it down a little bit more and the leak got worse. I think what I did is probably strip out the threads on the tester, so that is not going to work. But none of the other joints leak, so when the propane people get here, they're going to test the system as well, and we'll go with their results. I don't think it's going to leak once I take off this adapter, but this is the only thing I have with a Schrader valve on it, so I really can't test it any other way. Yeah, it's still holding air pretty good, so obviously the leak is pretty tiny, but it is definitely a leak. I'm going to call the propane system good and move on to the water system. I'll leave this tester on and come back and check it tomorrow and see how much got out. But again, other than this leak right at the tester here, I believe the rest of the propane system is fine. And get a temperature of that pipe, because it could be very cold out here tomorrow morning. We're at 65 point, well, we'll call it 65.5 degrees. Not sure if I explained well enough about taking the temperature of the pipe, but the air up there can vary by 70, 80 degrees in one day. It can be below freezing up there early in the morning and be like 100 degrees by noon. And the temperature change is going to change the pressure in that pipe. Because this pipe runs throughout the building, it can be a fairly big change. So that's why we did that. All right, now for the water. Hopefully this test goes better. I have a bunch of fittings here, and it looks like I'm missing the plugs. I'm going to have to go find them. Like I said, I'm going to have to plug both those ends, and then I have to adapt this so I can get from the hose into the water line, and we'll see what happens. All right, got my plugs and my PEX scrimper. And it's already set to 3/4 of an inch. Perfect. All right. Now, got to pull this hose out of here, which means I got to loosen it up. Uh-oh. I thought there was going to be a hose end on that. I might not have the fittings for this. Alright. Had to go get a different hose, but this one is real high quality. Alright. One last PEX fitting, and when I'm done, all of these PEX fittings have to come off. All of this PEX is just run at long lengths, and basically I'm just testing the T-joint up above and the lines themselves, but I don't think the lines are going to be leaking at all. Alright, beautiful. Now I have a hose fitting on the end here. I have real nice hose here, so hopefully it doesn't leak, but if it does leak, it really doesn't matter to the system. All this is just to put water into it. Alright, before I turn the water on, I should explain a little better. I'm not testing the ends there or any of this stuff here. The only thing I'm testing is that T-joint up there, because that's above the ceiling level, and once I get the ceiling in, I won't be able to do anything about it if it leaks. Once I get the ceiling in, I'm going to make all the other connections and I'll test those as well. But for now, we're just testing that T. Another thing is, if these plugs are loose, they're going to fire out like a rocket. It's pretty intense. I've never had it happen with PEX, but I've had it happen with copper before. All right, let's open the valve. I've seen it jerk a little bit. There's definitely water going in there. All right, I'm going to grab the ladder. We're going to take a real close look at that, but it's right up against paper. I think we'd be seeing some wetness up there if it was leaking. Let's go check the ends first. All right, good to go. All right. Good over here as well. No leaks or anything up there. I'm going to go check that T-joint more close, and I think I'm going to leave the water on for a while, go have lunch, and come back. Then I'll shut it off. When I'm done shutting it off, I have to cut off these ends and let this whole thing drain out again. Very impressed. Got a drip of water here, but that's the hose connection. I'm surprised that's leaking. I could tighten that up and stop it from leaking, but I really don't need to. All right. Not a sign of leak anywhere in the system except for that hose fitting, which is not really part of the system. Well, I guess it's not leaking. I can just turn this off. I don't want to get a puddle here. Because this hydrant is self-draining, a lot of this water is going to go back down and underground right here, but I still have to cut those ends off and drain the system. You can hear that water going back through. Pretty cool. This system is going to be pretty awesome once it's done. Alright. Because that drain is open, we shouldn't have any pressure in the system, so this shouldn't fly off like a rocket, but I could be mistaken. Alright, it is self-draining. This could get a little messy, but once I have my manifold hooked up to this, there will be no mess whatsoever because it'll go straight down into the drain. There we go. I'm going to run this outside to drain, then I'll cut this fitting off down here and we'll be done. Alright, we'll cut that PEX off there at a later date and reuse that stuff. So the water lines, 0 leaks, and the propane lines have a leak at the test fitting, but none of the lines themselves leak. So I'll just test that thing and see how much pressure is still in there tomorrow. Not that it really matters. Then I'll get all this stuff taped up, get it all nice and tight, and I'll put that on as the ceiling goes past there. But other than that, the next test for the propane lines is going to be by the propane company. So what's left on the above the ceiling punch list is the joists up there and the partition wall. The partition wall is actually on that list. It's not above the ceiling, but the ceiling's attached to it, so it has to be in place before the ceiling goes in. So the next thing I'm going to do is clean this entire area up and stage everything where I can get some work done. And I'm going to try to get the partition wall and the joists in these 2 bays done. Then I'll go back and move stuff again and get the last 2 bays done. Then I can get onto the ceiling. So tomorrow is a big cleanup. It's going to be a cleanup all day and organize everything so I can get that partition wall done. It should be pretty interesting. So if you want to see that, make sure you subscribe and click on the update icon. If you have any questions or comments, make sure you put them in the comment section below. And if you share the video and or give it a like, it helps the channel out greatly. Thanks for watching and have a great day.